Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today, back at it with another Astro Musings video. We're going to talk all about Jupiter's ingress into Aries. Very excited for this transit. I'm going to talk about how it's going to affect each and every one of the 12 signs. So if you stay tuned until the end, I'll be pulling tarot cards and talking about where Jupiter is transiting in your natal horoscope and what you may expect. Do me a favor, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please click the button below so that way you're alerted as to when I have content coming out. We're putting out videos every couple days on the channel. Hopefully you guys are digging it. Big thank you and a shout out to all of the members and anybody who's subscribing. You guys make it possible for me to keep creating this content, so donations are always welcomed, as are new members. Check out my community tab. You can support my channel by joining one of my memberships, especially if you like my content, if you like the horoscopes, if you like the weeklies. We've been able to double up on content purely just because of the traction that we've had on the channel and all of the new subscribers. So big thank you. Leaving a thumbs up or a positive comment, anything really helps us get into the algorithm. So thank you guys so much. All right, so let's start off first talking about this transit. And I want to preface this video by saying this video really is going to be very helpful. You can come back to it. You're going to be able to use it from May of 2022 pretty much into the spring of 2023. Why? Because Jupiter will retrograde back into Pisces briefly at the end of 2022. We'll go back into Aries and we'll stay in Aries really into the spring of 2023 before it moves into Taurus. But for right now, we're going to be talking about what's happening in the immediate next couple of weeks. You guys know I'll do these transit videos, and then as we go through the transits, that week we'll talk about it more. So I'm probably going to do like a recap video, obviously at some point in the month of May, and I will also do a recap video probably in the fall as we see Jupiter go back into Aries. So Jupiter's planetary cycle, so it takes about 12 years for Jupiter to go through each and every one of the zodiac signs. People know Jupiter as like the positivity planet, the planet of expansion, optimism, travel, philosophy, culture, higher education. Jupiter traditionally rules the signs Sagittarius and Pisces. So under the guise of Sagittarius or ninth house views, we connect with God. Whether that's getting on an airplane and going to a foreign place and having that connection with a higher power or our higher self. It's about higher education, gurus, teachers, philosophy, and it's overall associated with good luck. So can Jupiter bring blessings and good luck for everybody with this transit? Yes. Are you going to have to act on it? Yes, because it is in a cardinal sign. But for those of you guys who are a Aries, sun, moon, or rising, this is going to be especially beneficial for you, especially if you have any personal planets from 0 to about 9 degrees of Aries. So even if you're not an Aries, sun, moon, or rising, take a look. If you have any planets there, it's going to be extra sweet for you in the year ahead. But Jupiter, like I said, takes 12 years to go through all of the signs. So he spends about a year, give or take, with the retrogrades in each individual zodiac sign. So every 12 years, if you are an Aries, sun, moon, or rising, or if you happen to have your Jupiter in Aries, you experience that brand new cycle of sweetness, optimism, expansion, good luck. Jupiter can have a darker side, as can all the planets. We can see overindulgence, especially in Aries. It can be a little overzealous. It can be a little eager and kind of like foot on the gas pedal. So just keep that in mind because we are dealing with the energy of Aries. But because this is a new 12-year cycle, in a way, Jupiter is being reborn, and it really emphasizes the individual because it's in the sign of Aries. Now, I believe that it's going to give all of us a little bit of like an extra pep in our step and give us the energy and the optimism to be willing to start new things. Now, it's really going to depend on where it's happening in your chart, where Aries is in your chart. Like I said, we'll talk about that in a second. But the last time that we had Jupiter in Aries, it entered into Aries summer of 2010, and it went back and forth. There was a retrograde, and then it finally left in June of 2011. So you want to think of summer 2010 to summer of 2011, what happened that year, what positivity, new changes, new places, new experiences that you had. It can be very similar, although back then we did have Uranus in Aries, so it was a little bit of like a different energy. There was definitely a lot of like sudden surprises and changes, but you may see similar kind of themes in general. Now, specifically, and these are the dates that you guys want to note so you know when Jupiter is direct, when it's retrograde, where it's going. I'll give you these dates. Jupiter enters into Aries. That'll be May 11th, 2022. So it's going to be coming up here very soon. We're going to see Jupiter leave the late degrees of Pisces and move into Aries. And Jupiter will hang out there until October 28th, 2022, when then Jupiter will drop back in its retrograde into Pisces briefly. Now, it'll only hang out in Pisces for a very short period of time. It's still going to be in the later degrees of Pisces. So if you happen to be somebody who has planets in the late degrees of Pisces, you're going to get that extra sweetness again. You're kind of in like that sweet spot. Now the retrograde will begin. Jupiter will go retrograde starting July 29th, 2022. Basically, that can be a period of, okay, we've had, Jupiter in Aries for about 2.5, 3 months, and we're going to get a sneak peek of all the new beginnings that are really fully going to transpire in 2023. So when it retrogrades, does the good luck stop? No. We integrate what we've learned. We integrate what we've experienced. We may feel like there is some delay in a way that's going on just in regards to expansion. So we're going to have to integrate some of that while we are in the retrograde. So if you're somebody who started a new program, maybe if you are going back and forth between two places, Jupiter retrogrades can dampen the optimism, slow down travel. It can create delays when it comes to legal proceedings, anything in regards to higher education, things like that. So you can see that there is a sense of like, okay, integrating these new things that we've started. Now, it will return back to Pisces, like I said, on October 28th. Now, very interesting because right around that period of time, I know we're going to be having an eclipse. So for it to be dropping back down into Pisces and us to be having eclipses, obviously, there's something going on there. And to be honest with you, Jupiter, I think, does well in both signs. Jupiter does very well in a fire sign. Jupiter really likes being in Pisces, though. So where Pisces was more Neptunian, emotional, spiritual, isolated, as soon as it enters into the Aries like energy, it's just like busting through a wall, breaking out. So there is going to be a sense of feeling when it goes back into Pisces emotionally, and then when it ingresses back into Aries. Every time a planet, especially an outer planet, crosses the 0-degree Aries cardinal point, it is brand new energy. Remember, that's the very first degree of the zodiac, where 29 degrees of Pisces is the end, Aries is the beginning. So we are going to be seeing endings and beginnings. It's no coincidence that this ingress is happening right around the time of eclipses. So it's ushering in, hey, things are ending. How do you feel about it? Okay, well, we've washed it away. Time to start new, fresh, new energy. Now, we will then see Jupiter returns back into Aries December 20th, 2022, and it will stay there until about May 16th, 2023. At that point in time, it'll move into Taurus. I think one of my eyes really kind of get caught looking at the May 28th through May 31st period. So the end of this month, if you're watching this video in May of 2022. This gets me thinking because there is going to be conjunctions between Jupiter in Aries and Mars in Aries. Now, Mars rules Aries, the warrior, the god of war, conflict, but it's also about passion, courage, the willingness to cut, sever, fight, and be independent, and being willing to move forward alone on your own into sometimes uncharted territory when it comes into conjunction with Jupiter. Now, I'm going to give you guys some food for thought. I'm going to read from, I'm going to read from the archetypal universe. I'm going to give you guys some insight into that archetypal feel of Mars and Jupiter coming together. But we can break it down very simply just looking at the planetary themes and also the particular zodiac archetype in itself. So when we look at Aries, Aries is a fresh start. It always represents that energy of the first house of kind of, brand new to the world, right? It's like being born. It's what you do when you first wake up in the morning. So it's your natural instincts and how you go and initiate things on your own. So it's a very independent energy. It's pioneering. It's like entrepreneurial. It has this energy that burns. And anybody who has natal Aries placements in their chart, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And those of you guys who have Aries who are kind of near and dear to your heart, you've seen it, right? There is a tendency to start things but not always finish them. Being an Aries moon native myself, I can definitely admit to that. But there's definitely like a real zest for life when it's coming into conjunction with Jupiter, because Jupiter usually is associated with Sagittarius, which is a fellow fire sign. Now, when we look at Mars, like I said, cutting, right? Charging, challenging. It's about passion, desire. So there can be a sense of us being like, I need to do this. I need to do it now, right? And there's going to be this impulsivity that's going to come because Jupiter magnifies. So when we see these two planets come together, it's both the beginning of a new Mars cycle and a new Jupiter cycle. So think about it like this. Mars is only going to come into conjunction with Jupiter roughly every 2 years, right? Because it takes Mars 2 years to go through all the signs in the zodiac. Jupiter is going to make a conjunction with Mars, I mean, depending on how you look at it, in this sign, only roughly, if it just so happens to coincide with a Jupiter conjunction, every 12 years. Actually, that's something that I didn't even think about until just now. So let me pull this up because I would really love to see the last time that these two met side by side. So give me just a second here. Probably should have had that, but that's okay. In traditional Aries fashion, we're just kind of going with it as it comes. Okay, here we go. So the last time that we saw Mars and Jupiter come together. Okay, so it wasn't for a while actually. So it did not happen the last time that it was in Aries because there was a Mars retrograde. So yeah, so it's been some time. I'll come back. I'll post the last time that we saw that conjunction together, but just know that because it's cardinal, it's very active. Because it's a fire sign, it's going to be passionate. There's going to be sudden instinctual movement and a lot of action and a lot of charisma. And when we see Mars line up with Jupiter, which is about optimism, expansion, travel, philosophy, it's also about our perspective on life in general, right? Like there can be a sense of like, yeah, life is happening and it's coming at me very fast. And there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm that can actually come with that conjunction. So basically what I'm getting at is that you have both a 2 years Mars cycle and a 12 years Jupiter cycle syncing up at the same time. We will not next spring have Mars and Jupiter come into conjunction. So even though Jupiter is going to hang out in a Mars sign for the better part of the next year, we're not going to see that energy of Mars factored in, creating the conjunction with Jupiter. And when two planets conjunct, they like fuse together. So they become like this super archetype of the two. So while Mars is really fast and kind of heated, Jupiter is very optimistic. It's kind of like, you know, Ricky Bobby, I want to go fast. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And we may find that we're jumping into things very quickly. We don't know how it's going to pan out. We don't know if we're going to be able to keep up the momentum. Aries is the energy of a sprint, not necessarily a marathon, but Jupiter does have the ability to behave like a marathon runner. So we may be starting or initiating things that we're not aware of, but it may actually be something that lasts for a very long period of time. Long trips, long educations, long periods of studying, all kinds of stuff that is connected to like traveling abroad on your own, independently, backpackers, things like that. So I think we're going to see people, individuals specifically, that are going to be more wanting to wander, to expand, to learn. It's going to usher in a whole new period of self-education, right? And I think of like Mars and Jupiter as being like, I can teach you how to, work with iron and how to weld, subscribe to my channel. I can teach you how to grow your own fruits and vegetables in your backyard. Join my newsletter type of stuff, right? And so there is going to be a sense of individuals seeking anything related to Mars. So if you want to learn how to make knives, if you want to learn self-defense, if you want to take your idea to the next level and decide that you are going to initiate a new business, all of that stuff is going to happen. So we're going to see lots more individuals, I think, being assertive and kind of taking initiative to go and learn or expand or venture into new areas of their life. So I'm very excited for that. The other thing that I would say is like Jupiter in a fire sign in general is interesting because Jupiter in Sag is very kind of like sagely, and there is a sense of being wise and knowing and experienced, and Jupiter in Aries is kind of like, oh, here's this thing, I just learned how to do it, you know? So there is also a sense of needing to practice caution with new things that we're learning and trying to avoid, rushing into something before we're like fully qualified or experienced. That's like the one thing that I would also say, you know. This transit reminds me of Nike's term, like, just do it. I could be wrong, but I think I remember in a previous video having done research on some of these transits. I think I brought up the fact that it was right around a Jupiter, Mars, and Aries transit that was either developed or it came out. So you're going to have certain things in your life in the next couple of weeks that's going to be like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it. Here we go. You know, like we're already starting it. We're initiating it. Don't underestimate whatever it is that you're learning or how you're expanding or what direction you're going in. Don't underestimate it, because it could be a new technique. It could be something you become trained in. It could be a new venture. It could be a new book that you publish, something like that, that ends up materializing as something extremely valuable for the next 12 years, okay, because it's a Jupiter cycle. I have a feeling that a lot of individuals are going to be researching, learning, and educating themselves on their legal rights, because Jupiter deals with law. So a lot of individuals are going to go, well, what are my rights, right? And I think we're going to see everything from class action lawsuits to individual lawsuits and things that are being initiated, because Jupiter and Mars does make me feel like there can be some legal battles. Speaking of battles, Jupiter in flames, Mars is about war. So I'm also anticipating that there can be some real tensions rising in the world, especially when it comes to military mobilizations or anything in regards to deployment, okay? Like deployment in general. Mars and Aries deal specifically with warriors, guns, knives, anything that is going to be hot or something that is used in self-defense. So while we see some of these pressures in the world continue to rise, individuals are going to be researching, how can I better protect myself legally, but quite literally? So self-defense, physical fitness, and wellness is also going to be something that is going to be very hot topics. People who are going to be developing their own gyms, people who are going to be learning about self-defense and anything that they can do to better protect themselves from other individuals. So these are just some topics. It'll be interesting to see what comes up in the immediate next couple of weeks, but these are just going to be some of them. Now, who is this going to benefit the most? Well, because the ingress of Jupiter is going to move from 0 degrees of Aries to 8 degrees of Aries. It will go all the way up to 8 degrees before it retrogrades. Any of the fire signs from 0 to about 10 degrees or fire placements are going to feel this the most. It's going to bring more action, more opportunity, more zest in general for your life. This is going to create pressure for the cardinal signs. So if you are a Cancer, Libra, Aries, Capricorn, you're going to feel it, especially if you're within the first decan, so 0 to 10 degrees. Jupiter squares aren't necessarily bad. They just push you to the bridge of realizing, oh my gosh, the situation is kind of coming to a pop and we need to expand. It can present over optimism. I think that's something worthy of mentioning just in general, not just for the cardinal signs, but I could see like Mars, Jupiter is kind of being cocky and it developing a sense of like being overzealous or, over knowledgeable or, anything like that. Being somebody who can be a little snobby with, how they use their information and how they kind of like move about the world. And remember, Aries is youthful, it's young, so it's fresh energy. So we want to really understand that we're learning new things. We're not masters of things yet. We need to take our time. We need to really make sure, especially if we're dealing with law, travel, anything related to weapons, heat, right? Education. Like, a lot of people are going to want to rush through things. We're going to see a lot of like quick programs or accelerated programs or anything like that to push people through more so quickly. So take that into consideration. We want to integrate what we're learning. We want to be focused on self-development and making sure that we're really upholding the integrity side of Jupiter. All right. So let's now talk about a couple things. So first I want to read to you guys, I love this book, The Archetypal Universe by Red Butler. And I have another 2 books that I'm going to read from, excuse me. So I want to talk to you guys, if you have this book, it's page 142. And it is all on Mars-Jupiter archetypes. Principles: positive, exuberant energies, wholesome physical confidence, a talent for good timing and synergy, fortunate action, impulses towards self-glorification, an overly boisterous or rambunctious style, a philosophy that might makes right, a big shot swagger. Definitely swagger. That's a good way of putting it. Shadow qualities can be impulsiveness towards self-glorification, a need for honor, glory, prestige, habitual bombast and stricity, obnoxious theatrics, a competitive spirit, and a big shot inflation. Cocky. The ideas of nationalism and expansionism, yeah, I could see that happening as well. Exuberant style, especially when it comes to the arts in general. And we're going to see things that are very proud and boastful and big. But, you know, we could also see just a sense of like things being over the top, right? Over the top in terms of how we're projecting things or showing things. So I think we're going to have an issue with righteousness in general. I think that's another way that this is going to play out. Heroic quests. Yep, that's another one. And courage, adventure, journeyers. I have this feeling like you're going to see a ton of people that are going to start backpacking. You're going to see a ton of people that are going to start traveling independently on their own. The quest, right, is very Jupiter, but Mars is that willingness to move, to go places, to trailblaze, to be the first. That's all the energy that we see connected to Mars. I don't know. I have a feeling that it is going to materialize as some very big egos and energies, and that being inflated, obviously, because it's connected to Jupiter, but also in Aries. So there's a difference between, you know, being confident and being cocky and how we're actually showing that energy. Both of these signs are masculine, so we're seeing that Aries and Sagittarius fueling each other. It's very external. I think that there's going to be a lot of conversations about, you know, what is confidence? And I have said for a very long time that confidence is quiet, insecurity is loud. And there's definitely a lot of loudness when we're dealing with the bangs from Mars and Jupiter's, you know, kind of energy. It's very big. So I think that big things in the world are going to be happening, big quests, big ideas, big stories. Are they being blown out of proportion? Are we seeing that it's being blown out of proportion to orchestrate and create conflict or strife, right? For the sake of selling stories. Jupiter. Food for thought. I want to read to you guys from another book, and this is going to be like more like a textbook. This is like my Bible here. So Parker's Astrology. It's something that I actually recommended also in my beginner's astrology class. Wonderful resource. If somebody were to say, hey, what's the one book that you should have if you're going to be seriously studying and practicing astrology that's like all-encompassing? It would be this book. I'll put it in my Amazon list as well. But I wanted to read to you guys specifically what it says about Jupiter through Aries. So the negative side of Jupiter encourages blind optimism, exaggeration, extravagance, gambling instinct, sometimes wastefulness, and an overdevelopment sense of drama. Now, Jupiter in Aries. The positive, fiery enthusiasm of Aries is very sympathetic to Jupiter's lively, optimistic influence. Here is someone who's assertive, broad-minded, enthusiastic. A love for freedom is important, but care is needed not to express it selfishly without due consideration for the partner or other people's feelings. There may be a rather devil-may-care attitude, especially if Jupiter is negatively aspected with the Sun, Moon, or Mars. Put a pin in that because the Mars conjunction is going to do that. So look for indications of stability and common sense in other transits or in the chart. This is a pioneering spirit, characteristic of Aries. It will surface and be expressed through pure adventureness. Wanting to travel to faraway, dangerous places, maybe go to a new development of some kind that will call for an enterprise, which is another characteristic of this sign in its placing. Sometimes Jupiter's influence will encourage sportsmanship, competitive spirit. This is marvelous while the subject is young, but intellectual potential and the development of philosophical outlook should be encouraged. Powerfully extroverted children with this placement may need guidance since bullying tendencies sometimes develop. There is a liking for risk-taking, but also it needs to be controlled. So there's that. And this is more in a natal chart. Obviously, you want to look at aspects. Self-confident action. There is decisiveness, sometimes leading to premature action, generosity to the point of extravagance, an ability to ignite enthusiasm in others. In many ways, this placement encourages individuals to be very full of themselves. It will give considerable extroversion to the subject. The subject won't be at all backwards and coming forwards, tooting their own horn at every opportunity they get. This is fine in many respects, but these individuals must consciously recognize that it can be pretty overdone at times. A tactful warning may help them achieve a desirable balance. An emphasis in the natal chart in Virgo or planets in that sign will help counterbalance this. A course in advanced driving instruction, once the license has been granted, will be beneficial, and these subjects may drive less recklessly. I think that's like literally or metaphorically, you know. Obviously, it's talking more about in a natal placement, but I think it's interesting that it said when there's hard aspects or challenging aspects between the moon, Saturn, or Mars with Jupiter and Aries, that we see overdoing it. We see us being a little cocky. We see us kind of rushing into things or not taking other people's feelings into consideration. You see, that's part of the archetype of Aries because it's a me first, where I'm going, what I need, what I'm doing. So we are going to see this in individuals. We are going to see that they become more A, optimistic, B, willing to expand, but C, it's sometimes not considering people outside, right? The polarity to Aries would be Libra. So where individuals are expanding, are they expanding much more quickly than their partners, their business partners, their family members, their spouses are comfortable with? It's going to be a good question because we're going to see Mars come into conjunction with Jupiter and people are probably going to act out pretty selfishly is the feeling that I'm getting. Now that particular conjunction between Mars and Jupiter will be setting up between May 28th and May 31st, 2022. So this is when you're going to see it the most. The conjunction starts actually at 3 degrees of Aries, and it's going to be 3 degrees and change. So I wanted to also read to you guys the Sabian symbols, and I want to talk about 4 degrees of Aries and look at the symbol and see where that may be giving us some insight as to what new cycle between Jupiter and Mars is setting up. So Aries 4, 2 lovers strolling through a secluded walk. The theme is on privacy. The symbol speaks to innocence and the experience of belonging with no sense of personal responsibility or obligation. It also speaks to coming together of individuals out of mutual desire, simply to enjoy time together. The image of 2 lovers strolling through a secluded walk suggests peace, tranquility, and seclusion. The 2 lovers are in their own world of reality of their own creation. The implication here is that reality is whatever we decide to make it, or that no experience is real until we give it meaning. On a practical level, the symbol indicates a preference for intimate one-on-one relationships rather than socializing with groups, and the desire for privacy and quiet surroundings. It also indicates a desire to avoid pressure of situations. At its highest, it represents ingenuousness and an absence of premeditation. Watch for inadequate social skills or possessiveness in relationships. And keep in mind that the accent is on privacy, serenity, and simplicity. You may find yourself wanting to put aside a broader social obligation and responsibilities to withdraw. Guard against jealousy and possessiveness or trying to force your ideas and reality on someone else who doesn't see things the same way as you. And follow your instincts. It's a good time to read, relax, work on a hobby, spend quality time. Take time to enjoy yourself without feeling guilty. Interesting. So, you know, it happens at a 3, so it's more communication. It's a Gemini degree, and then it ingresses to 4 eventually, which I think is like how we're retreating and reflecting on like the conversations that we've had. For the most part, I do think it's going to present a very positive opportunity for all of us to start something new. I think that if some of you guys have been feeling like, man, the beginning of 2020 was just nothing but retrogrades and squares and Saturn conjunctions and nodal squares, and it just hasn't felt like the right time. Things really turn here at the end of May. And I would say, depending on what you're dealing with, it's worth taking a chance, starting something new, maintaining optimism, and encouraging yourself to continue to expand in your beliefs, your education, your travel, culture, what have you. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about where this is going to be happening for each and every one of the 12 signs. With all of my predictions, please do listen for your rising sign first, then your sun, and then your moon. If you resonate with your progress chart, you can listen to that too. Choose your own adventure. I'm not going to tell you a right or wrong way. A lot of people resonate with their sun stuff. A lot of people resonate with their rising. For my predictions, you're going to get the most out of what's physically going to happen if you listen to your rising sign. I am a Western astrologer, okay? And if you guys don't know this information, you can find a chart calculator online. Most of them are free. You just put in the time, date, and city that you were born, and it will cast your chart. Look at your 9 o'clock hour of your chart. That's your ascendant. So it's going to determine the actual housing order. If that doesn't make sense to you, or if you need some help, consider booking a reading with me. You can check out my website below at beyondtheveiltarot.com. I'd be happy to look at your chart and talk to you about your transits. Okay, so I'm going to tell everybody what house this conjunction is happening in. And also, I'm going to tell you exactly where Jupiter rules. See, this is where you can like really make astrology work. We can talk about an eclipse or a transit or a conjunction happening in a house, but if you're not taking into consideration the house lords, it's not really going to paint the full picture. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to tell you where it's happening. Know that because Mars rules Aries, it's the ruler of that house. So it's going to pack an extra punch with the conjunction to Jupiter. So it's going to, you need to kind of factor in the other houses. Okay. So for Aries and Aries rising, congratulations. This is very exciting energy. You are feeling super enthusiastic. It is happening in your sign. So if you were in Aries rising, you're starting a brand new 12-year cycle. For Aries risings, suns, and moons, this is extra positivity, more sweetness, new beginnings, expansiveness, you name it. It's really positive. For Aries moons and Aries ascendants, it can also be a marker of a new home, a new relationship, or even a pregnancy. Mars rules your chart, so when there are transits that involve Mars, it's important. When Mars is crossing your ascendant, when Jupiter is crossing your ascendant, you're feeling more active, you're feeling more lit up, right? Now, Jupiter rules your natal 9th and your natal 12th house, so it makes me feel like you are traveling to foreign places. You are traveling to places that you feel called to, that you have dreamed about. Your intuition, your beliefs are all expanding. You are starting to feel like you're getting life back. You are starting to feel excited, optimistic, and like the world is your oyster. So it's really positive for Aries placements. Because Jupiter rules your 12th and your 9th house, there can also be opportunities for retreats, higher education, spiritual studies, you name it. All of that 9th and 12th house goodies is really allowing you to either start learning something, start teaching something, taking on kind of the title of a teacher or a guru or somebody who is instructing others. Travel is going to be a theme. You may be also really interested in some form of like traveling places yourself, having experiences. Maybe you're really adamant about launching a course. Maybe you're really adamant about publishing a book. There could be something like that that's coming up from this transit for you. Because Mars is your chart ruler, I really encourage you to pay attention to the dates that I gave you, especially at the end of the month, because it's a time to really set things up for you, right? For like the next 2 to 12 years. You're setting intentions, you're praying, you're asking for guidance. You are maybe working with a teacher or a guru, or maybe you're working with a counselor and somebody who is helping kind of show you the way forward, right? There can be really important people that come into your life that help you set this up, and they may practice something mystical, spiritual maybe. There's something about that I think is going to give you opportunities to travel both literally, but also in terms of your mind, and really expand your belief system. The card that I got for you is the Six of Coins. So this is talking all about give and take, right? What you're getting, what you're putting out there. It can be a feeling of you have been doing a lot of work supporting and assisting other people. Now that's coming back to you. If you need assistance in programs, with work, with travel, with anything, it's like ask and you shall receive. There is a lot of like karmic things returning. You know, Jupiter can deal with positive, good karma, if you believe in that. So it's like almost coming back to you because of what you've put out there, but it's also about paying it forward. So there is a sense that even if abundance comes into your life, it doesn't matter on the form, whatever you end up gaining, you're going to give and pay forward and give to other people. So it's important to keep that in mind. If you need help, ask for it. But at the same time, to me, it looks like everything is coming into balance for you. Very exciting. For Taurus and Taurus rising, this is a conjunction happening in your natal 12th house of hidden spaces, foreign places, subconscious, when you sleep, things that are going on behind the scenes. Now, this involves your 8th and 11th house lord as well. So Mars rules Aries. It's in the 12th. You can be feeling a little frustrated, a little run down. Maybe you need to heal something. Maybe there's a sense of taking time and rest away with a partner because Mars also rules your 7th house. But I get the feeling that with Jupiter coming into the mix, it's like lots of opportunity to go on vacations, focus on your goals, be talking a lot with a partner, developing more intimacy. There can be a feeling of certain things coming to an end. Taurus, I know these eclipses have not been easy for you. There is a sense of you coming into your own and also realizing that in order to be a better, truer version of yourself, sometimes you have to cut people loose. So with Mars being in your 12th house with Jupiter, there can be this feeling of endings, right? Because it's highlighting both your 8th and your 12th house, which are ending houses. It can also be a time where you're saying goodbye to someone or something. So you could be saying goodbye to, something that's been, funding you, somebody who's been giving you resources. You could be saying goodbye to a friendship. There could be some kind of ending going on, but it's for the better. Jupiter being involved is saying that it's like a good transformation. It's a good release. It's a good letting go. So if you need to do that, I promise you it's going to be very helpful. But for many Tauruses, I think that it's sending you on the path of really focusing more on spirituality, like learning that there's more than just what meets the eye. It might prompt you to start doing more like vision quests or like doing more meditation, astral traveling, learning about shamanic stuff, things that are going on in the ethers. It's going to send you on that path, and it's setting up for the next 2 to 12 years. So you may go to foreign places. You may start learning more about the subconscious and the spirit realm and energies and manifestation and all of that stuff. The card that I pulled for you is the Four of Coins. So to me, it's kind of like, no, I don't want to let this go. It can be selfish, especially because Four of Coins is kind of a selfish card. That happening in the 12th house is like maybe there's this fear of having to learn to let some things go, and like selfishly you want to hold on to some of those things. It's like, that's my money, that's my old life, that's my way of being, that's my security, right? And really having a difficulty letting go. Remember that Four of Coins talks about like a fluid energy that we don't want to hold on too tight, because then we are not going to allow new in, but we don't want to just give freely, because then we're not able to hold on to anything. When I see this, it makes me feel like you're holding on to some things that are already gone, already dead, already over, already buried, and you're not realizing that if you let them go, you have so much more to receive. Try to keep that in mind, whether it's resources, people, past pain, whatever. Don't hold on too tightly. It can make it more challenging, more frustrating for you in general. For Gemini and Gemini rising, this is a conjunction of Jupiter and Mars in your natal 11th house. Very interesting, because I think that it is promising the expansion of your goals, expansion of your networks, friends, opportunities to merge with other people. You're going to see some kind of bleed over into relationships and friendships. Maybe lots of friends are meeting a new romantic partner. Maybe you're meeting their friends. Jupiter is the ruler of both your 7th and your 10th house. So something about your goals when it comes to your relationships and your careers are coming full circle. There can be amazing parties, amazing celebrations, you know, telling your friends about accomplishments. I got the job, we got married, we got the house, we're having a baby. Lots of sharing with other people, especially your close-knit friend groups, what you have accomplished when it comes to your personal life and or your career. Now, the 11th house deals with your wishes in general. So Jupiter going there and merging with Mars is kind of like a magic wand. And I think Jupiter is going to say, well, what do you want? You know, it can be conversations you're having with a partner, a business partner, a spouse, what have you, about what you're hoping to achieve together, what your goals are together. And then you start really working towards that. And through some hard work, I think in your career zone, both you and a partnership can really expand. Go to those parties, have a good time. I think you're going to find out that it's like your social agenda is slammed. It's like one invite after another. And you're like, how are we going to be able to manage all of this? But you know what? Go and have a good time. And I think it's really important that if you are in a relationship, that you are being given the freedom to go and socialize and hang out and be with friends as well. So, you know, a partnership that's going to support that and encourage that is a healthy one. I get the Wheel of Fortune. Not surprised, because this is the card for Jupiter. So it is saying that maybe you're going on vacation with friends, maybe you're traveling to a faraway place. Maybe it's this optimism that's kind of building with your friends and with your goals. It's about fate and karma and kind of the wheel of fortune or the wheel of fate kind of spinning in your corner. So it looks like things are looking up and either a goal or something that you've been working towards is going to come full circle for you. For Cancer and Cancer rising, this is a Mars-Jupiter conjunction that is happening in your natal 10th house of career. Well, Jupiter rules your 6th, which deals with your schedule, pets, coworkers, and also your 9th, which deals with travel. Cancer, do you have to travel for work? What's going on there? Do you have to hire people because suddenly a business is exploding and all of a sudden you've got way too much work? These are good problems to have. Now this square is a little uncomfortable because it is going to be squaring your natal placements in Cancer, and Jupiter squares magnify things. They can make you kind of emotional, kind of crabby, but also I think that it's really putting you in the spotlight. The Mars-Jupiter conjunction in your 10th house of career can have you realizing that you need to expand your space. You need to sign legal documents to legitimize a business. Maybe, perhaps, there is an opportunity for you to get some support, some people that help you open a new space, a new office, or there is just general support and good luck overall when it comes to changes with your career. So if you're starting a new job, taking a job, launching a job, wonderful. It may be sudden, it may be quick. You may have to think on your feet and be a little creative with where you're working and, you know, anything in regards to legality. You might need licenses, or you may need legal support or some kind of career counseling or guidance through this process. But I say do it, start it, because it's a wonderful time to do this. Some of you guys may be having to travel somehow connected to work, or maybe you're working with horses because it's Jupiter. Maybe you're having to work with cutting things or stitching things or anything relating to, you know, working and building it yourself. Maybe you're learning how to delegate tasks and be a boss and not be the person who's working all the time. That's the other way I could see this. If you're having growing pains, definitely consider getting an assistant, hiring people, having people help you with the process so it's not all landing on you. But generally, overall speaking, very positive energy. You're only going to get this once every 12 years, so make it count. And if you want to do something big when it comes to your career, you want to do it now. I get the Magician. This is such a wonderful card for you. Maybe you don't realize it, but you're manifesting all this. It's like everything you've been thinking about, it's now kind of dropping down into this reality and you're like making magic. The Magician is very crafty. He knows how to make the most of all the elements. That's why he's got the cup, the pentacle, the wand, and also, what else does he have there? He has the sword, so it's about communication. Air elements and also fire elements are more challenging for you. And I think this is good because you have a lot of placements right now in Gemini, and I know it's 12th house to your sun, but it's sextiling all this Aries, and it's like an ability for you to work very hard behind the scenes, communicate where you're scared, communicate where, you know, you have blind spots, and be able to make magic happen. So when this card comes up, it's saying be mindful of what you're manifesting, what you're thinking about. It's like things that come out of your mouth might suddenly appear, they might happen. And with Jupiter being involved in your 10th house, you're going to be seen as the maverick or the person who's just, you know, like really good at pulling everything together and like really magnifying all of your talents or what you're doing when it comes to your career. Might be a great card to keep on an altar or just kind of work with, or maybe have on like a screen lock, you know, for your phone so you're seeing it and it's just a reminder to be conscious of what you're manifesting. For Leo and Leo rising, Jupiter is going through your natal 9th house with a conjunction to Mars. Oh my goodness. So this is going to be exciting because, you know, Jupiter loves the 9th house, right? And it's a fellow fire sign. So the worst case scenario, you book a couple flights, you go some places, you start traveling. It might be more on your own. Best case scenario, it's that the bigger picture is opening up when it comes to your love life, your belief systems, and your creative sense of self. You know, you've got Jupiter that rules your natal 5th and 8th house, and that tells me that some of you guys are realizing the bigger picture when it comes to love, and what needs to change and transform in terms of intimacy so you can grow closer in love. Where you've been afraid and where you need to heal things, and maybe like a good trip by yourself can kind of clear your head. I also feel like it's going to give you the opportunity through traveling to have lots of connections for romance, sex, intimacy, meeting people. It could be a really good time. You want to watch for overdoing it, especially when it comes to like overdoing it on spending for travel, overdoing it when you're gambling or taking chances or being a little bit riskier with investments. That's something that definitely kind of comes to mind. But for the most part, I think Jupiter in the 9th house is kind of saying that there's a new belief system that's being born. You're really changing and transforming what you believe in. There can be some sudden quick flights or trips or things that you have to take. If you can't go with anybody else, you will go alone. Use that time to really reflect on what it is that makes you happy. Find joy. Go and do things that are fun while you're traveling and remind you of your inner child. Go to plays, go and do fun stuff, excursions, go to museums, go and see art, things like that, and be super open to possibly finding love on the road or at a distance. Now, the card that I got for you is the Ace of Wands. Perfect energy for you, Leo. You're going to love all this fire. I think you're going to have a great time with it. You're feeling expressive, creative, new opportunities for you romantically, but this is more sexy time. You may be also feeling that you want to go and learn more about something that interests you. A hobby maybe, take a course or a class or a workshop. Maybe you have to travel somewhere to go and learn how to do this. Maybe it's while you're traveling somewhere you stumble upon something that you really love doing or you enjoy and you're like, I need more of this. It's about passion, creativity, and the ability to really light a flame up in your life right now. So new opportunities are coming. I think you're going to see more of this all year. You're going to see it like clear through the summer. So pay attention to even what's happening around your birthday as these transits begin to unfold. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you've got a Jupiter transit in your natal 8th house. So Jupiter in the 8th house brings blessings through endings and trauma or transformation. So Jupiter is basically highlighting, hey, do we need to pay something off? Hey, are we afraid of intimacy? Hey, do we need to get a loan? There can be beneficial things that come from this as well, okay? Jupiter in the 8th house can suddenly bring resources in. It can bring in a benefactor, it can bring in an investor, it can bring in a really nice tax refund, money that's owed to you perhaps. Unfortunately, the downside of this transit is that it is in the house of death, so it can be blessings that come from some unpleasant situations. Jupiter is the ruler natally of your 4th and 7th house, so Because Jupiter rules your fourth, some of you guys may inherit money from family because of a passing. Some of you guys may inherit property from family because they can't take care of it anymore or they're older. Some of you guys may not see anything coming and it just falls out of the sky, right? Especially when Mars shows up. You're having to confront the skeletons in the closet and where you're afraid of change, vulnerability, sexual intimacy, and where you learn that there's a lot of room for growth, especially because Jupiter also rules your 7th house of Pisces. So I think another person is pushing you to open up, be intimate, be more comfortable having sex, talking about your fears, your finances, your debt, your money owed, but also somebody who wants to give you something. So not all wealth is necessarily money per se. It can be a wealthy spouse. It could be a wealthy partner who comes in that says, hey, I've got a big house, come move in with me, you know, I'll help you pay your bills. Something like that can happen. And worst case scenario, it ends up manifesting as just like a really great time and an opportunity to really grow when it comes to intimacy or sex. And I would say, I have a feeling some of you guys are having to do some work when it comes to either vulnerability or your finances so you can really fully step into a relationship and possibly live with somebody, consider marrying them, talking about joint resources, and like it's really prompting you to do a lot more work in that and not be so private about some of those issues or tackle them if you have been unwilling to. The card that I get is the 7 of Coins. So this makes me wonder, okay, for some Virgos, this can be a card that deals with an unexpected pregnancy. That's what 7 of Coins can be like referring to. So it can be like, oh my God, now I'm, you know, dealing with, you know, having to figure out insurance. This can also be about like you looking at things going like, okay, I'm willing to part with some money. I'm going to make this investment. I hope it pays off. It can also be about you kind of saying like with a merger with another person, financially, sexually, emotionally, like I hope this pays off. Be mindful and be careful where you're planting seeds of intention, whether it's money, your time with a relationship, starting a new business, anything like that. It's saying take your time, think it through, be mindful that it's going to take time for some of these things to fully come to fruition. So if these are things you're wanting to grow, it's going to take time. And you're really relying on something to come through, or you're really hoping that something is going to pan out positively. Generally speaking, this is a good card because it is an earth element, same as you. It's just going to take increments of 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, or there can be a sense of you thinking into the future of where you need to be financially at that point in time. So I hope that goes well for you, Virgo. For Libra, Libra rising, you've got Jupiter going into your natal 7th house. And similar to Aries and also Cancer, you're feeling growing pains. Jupiter is the ruler of your 3rd and also your 6th house. So you've got Jupiter going into your 7th. For those of you guys who are Libras and Libra risings who are not settled, it is your 7th house of relationships. So important, prominent partners can be coming in. There can be a sense of you feeling more free, adventurous in relationships. You might meet somebody who travels a lot or somebody who wants to travel with you. There can be a lot more short trips, busy trips, back and forth, getting out of town for the weekend for you and your partner. If you are partnered, some of you guys may get a blessing of an engagement or a marriage from this transit. I think somebody can show up very suddenly and very quickly, especially if you are either in a Mars or a Jupiter annual perfection year. Pay attention to the end of the month. Now, Jupiter also rules your 6th house, so I feel like there's a need to communicate with partnerships in general more about your schedule and where your schedule is changing. Maybe you're making more time for travel. Maybe you're making time for teaching or education. Regardless, there is going to be an emphasis all year long on partnerships, and that'll lead clear into next year as well because Jupiter will hang out there for a bit. But this challenges you, Libra, because I think it's also about doing things differently in relationships, making them more lively, practicing more independence. That's something else that I would say as well. If togetherness means that it's going to be under the guise of just traveling more, so then you have more independent time, or if you're trying to put more emphasis on spending time with other people outside of your relationship, that's another way this can play out as well. Regardless, be courageous when it comes to being with other people and be open to new, positive, harmonious contacts that come into your life right now. The card that I got for you is Temperance. Interesting. balance, right? So bringing the balance back to relationships. If things have been kind of bland and kind of boring, they're not going to be much longer. If you're feeling like relationships have been very unbalanced and kind of chaotic and you need some healing, and maybe somebody can come in that can actually help you restore your belief when it comes to relationships in general. Temperance comes up when it's saying take your time. So this can also be interesting because if somebody does suddenly show up, they can leave just as quickly as they came. Take your time. Don't rush into it. We may see people with Libra placements suddenly get married, right? Suddenly decide that they're moving, suddenly decide that they're getting engaged, suddenly opening a business with a new business partner. And while these things may happen, it's just saying take everything into consideration all in due time. So managing time when it comes to the relationship in some sense seems to be pretty important. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you have got Jupiter going into your natal 6th house. Now, this is going to be interesting because Jupiter rules both your 2nd house of money and resources, as well as your 5th house, which deals with children, romance, and creativity. To me, it looks like Jupiter going into your 6th house is really putting an emphasis on wanting to feel like you're making money in a pleasurable way, wanting to make money from creative projects. Possibly it's going to expand your interest when it comes to health and fitness or wellness. Maybe you're learning about a new fitness routine. Maybe you're learning about a new diet. It's possible that you could bring in a new doctor, a holistic doctor, a guru, a trainer, something like that can happen as well. And there is a need to really take a good hard look at your schedule. It looks like you're going to be focusing on starting new patterns, new beginnings, especially when your chart ruler Mars comes into conjunction with Jupiter later in the month. There's going to be an emphasis on like, I'm starting this now. New routines, new health regimens, like, you know, Mars is about cutting. So it can be like you going, I'm not eating that anymore. I'm not drinking that anymore. Or I'm making time for my creative projects. You're going to notice that your schedule is just really going to pick up. Now, it could also mean that you need some help or assistance with creative projects. If you need to hire somebody to help you edit something, manage a business, anything like that, that could happen. You may have to spend a little bit more time or money when it comes to your health or food preparation. That's the other way that I could look at it. So some of you guys may be so busy, you're like, that's it, I'm just going to have food delivery service. It's going to make it easy. It's going to be fast, efficient, and also healthy. Now, like I said, it does also rule, Jupiter rules your 5th house. So there can be swift changes in romantic relationships, cutting people or things off. The 6th house is the 12th, the 12th to the 7th. So there can be suddenly cutting or severing things. So if you've been on the fence with a romantic relationship and going back and forth, it could materialize as that as well. The good news is the card that I got for you is really positive. The Knight of Cups talks about leading with the heart, being emotional, being receptive. This is about somebody who comes in that kind of wines and dines you, wins you over, very emotional, sentimental. It could be a water sign, so you could meet another Scorpio or a Pisces or a Cancer. And it's basically just talking about leading with your heart, right? So when we take in the idea of the 2nd and the 5th house ruler being in the 6th, it's, are you enjoying and working on stuff that brings you pleasure? Are people encouraging you to focus on pleasure, enjoying your routine? Do you feel that you're navigating things independently, and are you listening to your emotions? So this can be a really fun, dreamy period for you. Somebody could come in with good news, and there can be a sense of you just kind of navigating your schedule in a way that feels natural. This can be intuitive eating. This can be rearranging your work schedule, your sleep schedule, but focus on the emotional connection and what changes there. For Sag and Sag rising, oh my goodness, Sag. Well, Jupiter's your chart ruler, so when it does things, that is important. Jupiter is going into your natal 5th house, which is about children, creativity, passion, lovers, pregnancy. I'm going to warn you right now, Sag, because of the trines to your ascendant, because Mars is showing up, you are very quickly going to find that you're getting engaged, you're falling in love, you're going to very quickly meet somebody that takes you by surprise at the bar. There could be a sudden one-night stand. You could get pregnant. If you've been wanting to get pregnant, this will be positive, joyous. It'll come very quickly. It should not be challenging, especially because Jupiter rules your 1st and your 4th house. So it can be a sense of like, oh, I'm pregnant, we got to move. Or, you know, our family is expanding, so we need to expand our home. You may move or relocate suddenly and then out of the blue meet somebody at your local bar. Romance and falling in love with something, whether it's a passion project, a child, a baby, a lover, will happen and take you by surprise very quickly. I feel like it's also about being more optimistic and open and receptive when it comes to these topics in general, like love or just even dating. So if you've been feeling a little blah with the dating life, this is definitely going to take you by surprise. It's very sweet because it is a merger, including your chart ruler. So look for this to happen very suddenly at the end of May. Intuitively, I feel like, I'm going to tell you right now, you will find that probably throughout the next month or two, like somebody's dropping the L-bomb. It's like, I love you. Somebody says they love you. You're like, I love this. I want to do this forever. Or, you know, I love the idea of opening my own business. Love is a big word. And I want you to be focusing on what you love. Oh, hello, Ace of Cups. Love, right? Cup runneth over with emotions, with feelings, being really, just really in love with something. I mean, I know I'm like really dropping that word a lot, but this is about new love, new emotions, new feelings, new opportunities when it comes to these topics. It can be about fertility. It can be about happiness and joy, but more in an emotional kind of ooey gooey feeling. So Sag, let me know what happens for you, what took place. This is really positive for you guys. So I'm excited to see who or what you are in love with. For Capricorn and Cap rising, this is going to create a little pressure, growing pains for you, like all the cardinal signs, because we are seeing this Jupiter ingress into your natal 4th house. Now, I guess the good news is that it makes you more emotionally aware. You might fight it a little bit because it's in Aries, but the 4th house deals with your roots, your home, your family. So you could be finding that it's time to expand your home. You need to have a new addition. You need to get into a bigger rental. There can be new people coming into the family, right? Jupiter can also deal with ceremonies. So there can be people getting married, people, you know, moving in with you, things like that. That can happen as well. Now, Jupiter is the Lord of your 12th and your 3rd house. So to me, it seems like you're either having to travel back home, traveling to a foreign place, dealing with family or relatives in a foreign place is possible. There can also be this theme of like having to communicate and talk to family members about some really sensitive topics or subjects, or finally like, you know, kind of clearing the air. That could be something that's going on as well. You may find out that you have to suddenly move, suddenly go back home, be with a parent, assist them, especially if you get a phone call, an email, if a sibling, aunt, uncle, or cousin reach out to you and they say, hey, so-and-so is not dealing well, go, be there. You will have to move swiftly if you get a call like this. One thing that I will also say is that you may become more aware of your emotions and your intuition kicks in. You might become really interested in like metaphysics, meditation, anything relating to dream interpretation. That's something else that could come up for you. And you might just start reading and listening to like lectures on 12th house stuff. So anything from, like I said, dreams to psychic visions to learning tarot. That might be kind of cool. You guys might start learning tarot because it's connecting to your 3rd house Lord, anything that you can read with your hands. But I would say just really pay attention and like learn to kind of like read between the lines, because there can be conversations you have with people that you're like, what are they really saying? Like, what's really going on here? Like, am I missing something? And a dream can come through and it can remind you like, no, there's actually something here. Like, look up the symbols. For the most part, Jupiter in the 4th, though, you will either travel back home, visit family, learn more about your roots and your legacy. That can be something that happens as well. But I feel like it could be positive opportunities for moves, right? Or a family member needs to move, you help them, but it's for like a good, you know, a good move. They're moving to a bigger place, or they finally bought their own house, you know, that kind of stuff. The card that I get is the 6 of Swords. Movement. Going back and forth, being in limbo. If you've been going back and forth and trying to determine whether or not you're going to move, if you're going to go somewhere, it looks like it's coming up. Look for increments of 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. This makes me feel like you're moving probably closer to June, and you're just like realizing like, oh, I have to move, or I have to make a move now, or there's this chance opportunity, I have to move on it. Maybe it's about finally making a decision to like move to another city, move to another country. Are you going across the pond? Are you visiting a place to see if you like it first and then deciding that you're going to make a move later in the year or the beginning of 2023? That is possible. Regardless, be open to where you can go. Realize that you're moving on to more calmer, peaceful waters in your life. If things have been challenging or tumultuousness, if there's been tumultuousness, things are going to get a lot easier for you. All right, so we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. This is taking place, this Jupiter transit in your natal 3rd house, which deals with communication, cars, short distance travel, gadgets. I guess because it's the ruler of your 2nd and your 11th house, you're really starting to communicate and express what your financial goals are. There can be a sense of like buying something that's like a prized piece or possession because of the strides that you have made financially. So if it's like, oh, I always really wanted like that Tesla, you'll buy it. Oh, I always really wanted to go on this trip, so you'll book it. There is a sense also of you investing more in not just vehicles or travel, but also education or gadgets. So if you need to get a new phone, a laptop, things like that, that could definitely happen for you as well. I get the impression, because it's in Aries, it's also going to be something that you're really impulsive about. So there's like an impulse buy coming. Maybe your friends are like, yeah, go, buy that car and get it. And you like go down there to look at it and then you just buy it on the spot. Be mindful of like the peer pressure that can come in because of the connection to the 11th house Jupiter energies. But for the most part, your goals are in alignment mentally, and you're vocalizing them and communicating them. And there's a way for you maybe to make money through writing, communicating, lecturing, teaching something, and you align kind of your financial goals with your beliefs, and then you're able to make something magical happen. I have a feeling there's going to be positive news, good news also for close friends, siblings, possibly you going to more parties where there's like neighbors and you're mingling and making friends with neighbors, or just your neighborhood in general. So if you're somebody who's recently moved, you might be kind of like getting to know people around your new area, and you're realizing like, I kind of like it here, and like these people are kind of cool. So you're developing more of a network, so to say, I also will tell you that there's going to be lots of opportunities for short trips. There's going to be lots of opportunities also, I think, for applying like new languages. Like some of you guys might want to learn a new language because you're planning on traveling somewhere. Some of you guys may have to learn like a new software or a new system. That's the other way that I would look at it. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, 2 cards jumped out. So it was the 6 of Swords again with, the Wheel of Fortune. So positive quick trips, new opportunities to go new places. Are you making a move? Is it a positive move? Are you moving somewhere in your city? Are you moving near a friend or a sibling? Whatever it is, good news or good movement or short trips are going to be taking place. And this, similar to Gemini, you and Gemini are going to do really well with this energy, are finding that the wheel is in your favor, right? Air fuels fire. So the fire signs and the air signs, I think, are going to do well, but the air signs are really going to make the most of this energy. So you and Gemini, maybe you guys are hanging out together. I don't know. Now we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. And this is a Jupiter transit into your natal 2nd house of spending power, resources, the money you have, your talent, and your self-esteem. Oh boy. Well, physically, this can bring more money. It can bring more opportunity for you to spend. There can be a nice little chunk of change that comes in, and it's money you've worked for, so you've earned it in some way. Jupiter rules both your 10th house of career and your 1st house. So maybe it's just you're getting paid better. Maybe you're getting more exposure. Maybe there's a sense of you feeling like you're really on top of everything when it comes to your work and your career, and it's finally starting to pay off. Pay attention to the end of May, because that's when there can be like a sudden opportunity to make a big purchase. Be careful with impulse buying, Pisces. You're going to see some shiny little object that you're going to want. There is possibly going to be an opportunity for you to buy something that you've been wanting to collect. You might be spending more money on like beauty, or maybe you're spending a little bit more money on food. You're indulging a little bit and you're like, I'm going to treat myself. It's very 9 of Coins energy. Now, being that it's also your 1st house lord, it's like you kind of saying like, I'm taking a hold of this. So it can also be about you learning more about your spending power, your resources, learning more about money, what you're investing in, where your money's going. So it's really important for you to feel like you're on top of that. I think it's great because for self-esteem wise as well, you're coming off this high of having these planets like Jupiter, Neptune, Mars, Venus, all in your sign. So the more love that you're putting into your self-love, like the more focus on self-love, the more that you're actually going to see that your self-esteem is building, and you're going to be like, I am worth more. I'm worth more. I'm worth more. And you're going to start walking and acting and living your life like you actually really believe that. So realize that you're only going to get paid as much as you think that you are worth. Interesting. Very interesting. The card that popped up for you is the Three of Cups. So celebrating maybe a big accomplishment, maybe that, you know, you're cashing in on something, maybe that something finally came through and you're like, yes, I got it, you know, and you're celebrating with other people. There is good times to be had. What I also feel like is that this is about you accomplishing a financial goal. And maybe it's like, okay, I did it. You know, I finally sold my first house, or I finally saved X amount of money, or I finally, you know, was able to pay something off. Whatever it is, it's worth celebrating. It could be that somebody is celebrating and giving you a bonus, or they're celebrating you or just how well you've done. I'm very pleased because I feel like for the most part, this is going to be a well-welcomed energy for all of the signs. I know it was a little challenging for you, Taurus. Just remember that what you're giving up, what you're willing to let go of, it's to bring something new in. So it's going to be testing your beliefs when it comes to your resources. And also, if you let go of certain relationships, that spirit has your back and it's going to bring you something that's going to be better. Just tune into your faith. Let me know, where is this transit happening for you? Are you in Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising? How are you anticipating this energy is going to play out? Are you feeling it? Come back to this video. Let me know. I'm going to keep it up on my channel so we can kind of follow and see what happens throughout the year with these transits. Please, guys, be courageous. Jump into action. Start something new. Even if you don't know how it's going to pan out, just do it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.